Should BT be broken up? I'm joined by Jonathan Ford, the FT's chief leader writer, to discuss whether the BT network, known as Openreach, should be separated from the ordinary telephone and broadband service delivered to consumers because of a conflict of interest. So, Jonathan, Openreach is already separate from BT. Why should it be privatised? Is this some kind of ideological crusade?
Well, it is separate in the sense that it's a separate division of BT, but it's still very much part of the BT group. And what we are advocating is something which is a much harder separation between the two parts. Why is that necessary? Well, I think it's necessary because basically what has changed in the past few years is that broadband has become a completely ubiquitous service. It's become a utility, a bit like gas and electricity. And it's something that everybody depends on in their daily lives. If you think about those utilities, what is the common feature of them is that the supplier, the owner of the network, is separate from the companies that supply services through it. And this is a case where they're still very much muddled together. And we think that that is a fundamental conflict of interest, and that basically it would be very much in the public interest if the two sides were firmly separated.
But the fibre network is a key part of this because at some point Britain is going to need a super high-speed fibre network to deliver hundreds of megabits of broadband. Now, if Openreach is fully privatised, separated entirely from BT, who's going to pay for this? Where's the money going to come from if it's not going to be BT or the government?
Well, ultimately, there are only two sources of finance for any infrastructure project like that, and that's either consumers or the government. Actually, as things stand, even though Openreach is essentially a subsidiary of a private business regulated in some ways, but not like, for example, the gas services, the government's already putting £2.5 billion into BT to build rural broadband. So it's not a magic solution to introduce high-speed broadband right across the country. I think what it would do is two things. One is you put Openreach into what you call a sort of classic regulated utility structure.
Like Network Rail?
Like Network Rail or like National Grid. And it would basically be regulated. The owner of the asset, which would be Openreach, would have a regulated, guaranteed rate of return. And that would potentially make it a low-risk business with the possibility of long-term returns, which would encourage it to invest for the future.
And very finally, briefly, Ofcom is going to make the decision, the people right behind us here on Southwark Bridge. When's that decision going to come, and what are their options? What can they do very quickly?
Well, they have three options, basically, well, three or four. They could do nothing, which seems unlikely. They could insist that, I mean, there are lots of complaints about BT and Openreach and the way it serves the rest of the market and whether it could do better. So they could sort of say, they could come up with some sort of remedies which say, we promise to do a quicker job in repairing other people's phone lines. They could do, and this is what quite a lot of people think they may opt for, is a sort of hybrid of keeping the risk of separation on the table, but saying to BT that they must open all their what are called ducts and poles, i.e. the bit by which the last mile is delivered to people's homes, so competitors can simply lay fibre to people's homes if they want to. Now, that's a perfectly reasonable solution. The main reason we don't like it is that we think it's rather wasteful to build lots and lots of replicated networks and actually just raises the cost for everyone more. So we think the better solution is to go for separation.
Thank you, Jonathan.